Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Real Estate VUE, and we're so excited to be here. I am Miki, and I'm joined by my co-host.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lorraine.
And I'm Kim, where we talk all things real estate and women in real estate.
Yes, yes, yes. And so, what a smooth transition, right, into our topic. I kind of want to say this. I wish we had one of those machines that makes the noise because today we're talking about BRRRR. So it'd be fun
Yeah.
if like we had something that like carried on the R's.
Yeah, like I can't even I can't roll my tongue to do that. Who can do that?
There we go. There we go. So yes, burr. And I know for the people who are listening, it might sound funny or weird. Like, what are they saying? Are they saying an actual word? But burr is really an acronym, and the reason why we're rolling our R's is because these R's stand for a few things, and it can kind of continue depending on what your strategy is.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we should just start off by saying, when we were last on, we were talking about, the different strategies that's involved or different ways you can invest in real estate passively.
Yes.
And the BRRRR strategy is not a 100% passive, but after you've done one crucial step in it, it then becomes passive. But it does involve some work up front before you can get to the passive aspect of it. So I guess when we say BRRRR, and Miki can do her little, when we say BRRRR, it stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat.
Repeat.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I feel like BRRRR is more like the in between being like, landlord, buying that fixed, stabilized asset already and flipping. It's like you're like in between because you're doing both of
Mhm.
it.
It's like a happy marriage, right?
It is, if you can call that happy.
Yeah, I was just about to say if you can get through the renovation
The
part.
renovate part, right, right. And so, like, I guess to your point, when we're talking about, and I really like the way you put it in terms of a combination of active and passive, because that's really what it
Yes.
is. Like the first B and R, so the buy and the renovate part is the more active, non-passive side of
Yeah.
the transaction. And then when you get to the rent and the refinance and the repeat, that's where the passive or the longevity or the compounding of the profits comes in.
It is, and it's really a strategy in itself when you do the BRRRR method, meaning that you as an investor, you're looking to kind of acquire this asset in the long term without putting your money down, right? Because when you refinance, you're supposed to cover, the loan itself plus the repairs and reimbursing, all the interests that have occurred. And so by doing that, you're actually coming out clear, and then sometime you can also make some profit, like a little bit of cushioning there. So
Yeah.
that's a good for when you can pull out some equity at the same time.
Well, I mean, I've technically never done a BRRRR. So, this is, on top of me talking about it from what I've read and from all of the experience I've heard from other people, I'll be learning as well during this podcast. So,
What and I haven't done a burr yet either, but just knowing the terminology and the concept and how they operate, and especially given the housing market that we have now, it can be beneficial, but then also sometimes challenging to do the burr method because of the way that values are, the way that where interest rates are
Yes.
potentially going to be going, that refinance aspect of it. Might be challenging, but then it could also create another opportunity for you to be able to have an added funding source. I think maybe
Yes.
you were
Yes.
touching on
So
that.
us in Akin Developer, we are in the Baltimore market, which is a very strong market for rentals. And since the beginning, we've been applying the flipping strategy and noticing that, we could actually birthing in this market. The whole point when you start with the BRRRR method, it's actually knowing which type of property you want to have as a rental. And so we love like those duplex, triplexes, quadruplex but we also do those small row houses, single family homes. So
Mm-hmm.
once you know which type of property you're looking for, then you locate the neighborhood. Because the other thing is also you want, the quality of tenants, because now you're going to be in the landlord game, right? So
Yeah.
might as well know which type of tenants you want to have and be in the location for those tenants, and also the price point that you're going to have. And so when you look at those property, you're always thinking, I am going to renovate it, but once it's renovated, how much is it going to be rented at, so that it covers, more than your mortgage, right? Because you want to have some cushioning for repairs and the rest, and the reserve. The whole point, the reason why it's like different than flipping itself, it's that when you go and having in mind that you want to burn this property, you have to start by like a reverse engineering process, meaning that you start from the refinance. Most of the banks usually will refinance the property at 75 of the after repair value.
Mm-hmm.
So this means that you, instead of starting like at the market value, just like for a flip, usually we start at market value. This one we're starting at 75. So you already had like a chunk of discount right there. And then from there, you have to subtract, the repairs that needs to be done on the property, and then your closing cost, all of your fees, and the rest of it, that's actually where your buying price is going to be. And so typically you end up for a bird, depending how much of repair you need to do, ideally you should be below 50%, way below 50% of the market value.
So I'm more of a, I think sometimes I'm a visual kind of learner, right? So I'm putting together the scenario that you're creating. So let me see if I can see if I understand, right? So let's just say, the property's $100,000,
You
right?
actually, I love those numbers. It's like easy math.
Nice round numbers.
Yes, round numbers.
Small.
So let's say the property is $100,000, and if I'm going into it knowing that I want to do the BRRRR method, because I think you make a really great point. First, it's helpful to know if you are in a rental market, because one of those R's is to rent.
Yes.
So knowing that information ahead of time is great. But if I'm going into it knowing that I want to BRRRR, if the property is 100,000 and I know that I want to refinance it and probably only get 75% of
Yes.
that amount, so now we're at 75,000. So I need to make sure that whatever I'm purchasing it for plus the renovations needs to keep me under 75%.
And the closing cost. Yes, exactly. This way you're not coming out of pocket
Got it.
when you're at the table refinancing. Because it can happen that you might come out of pocket for like, 2,000, 3,000, whatever the
Mhm.
number is. But a perfect BRRRR is usually you don't come out of pocket and you actually have equity in it. So, one of those duplex that we had, we bought it at, I think, 100K.
There you go.
But we knew that the market value was like at 220, and we actually put into it 20K of repairs.
Nice.
And the other thing, when you do renovation, you have your landlord hats on, right? So
Mhm.
you want to repair everything that will be, that will be a problem in the longer term, like in the 6 years to come. So if the roof is iffy, just go ahead, redo your roof, change the windows, you're going to have to do some electrical work and some plumbing. So those are like the basic thing for your rental. Rental is not like a flip, so you don't have to do like, the flashy things inside, but the essential thing that will stabilize your asset for a longer period of time, that's actually what you want. Because
Mhm.
you want, so once you refinance and you're having that rent coming in, you actually don't have to take care of that property for a little while. So you're able to have this cash flow and a reserve being built up for later years.
So, Miki, do you guys use the 1% rule in regards to the rent
We do.
right here?
We do.
Okay.
and we actually go above the 1% rule just because Baltimore is a hot market for our rentals. And the beauty of going into either duplex, triplex, and all is that you're able to go way above the 1% rule,
And I
which
know we,
means like most of the time, one or one and a half apartment will cover all of your mortgage. And so the extra one or the extra two that you have there is actually directly
Just cash flow.
100% profit. Yeah.
I was gonna say that I know I'm sure we have a lot of, sophisticated investors on the line, but maybe we can elaborate a little bit on what the 1% rule is. Which one of you ladies would like to take the
Go
mic?
ahead, Kim. I feel like I'm
Well,
talking
I
about.
was just going to say my understanding of it is if you're buying a property for $100,000, you should be collecting at least, if not
1,000.
more than $1,000 in rent. Am
Yes.
I explaining that correctly?
That's
Yes,
right.
you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pass the test. No, just kidding.
Your president. And the other thing that people don't realize, like your rent really has to cover your insurance. There's like a list. So there's a due diligence list when you're actually looking to price your rent, right? So it's not just covering the mortgage, it's more than that. There's
You have your
taxes involved, the
vacancy,
reserve,
Yes.
yes, vacancy. So all of that. And the other
property
thing that we
management.
Yes, there's ton of things. So that's why you want to go more than just the mortgage on that. And the advantage that we're finding now with the years with going for at least a duplex is that you can kind of remediate the vacancy, meaning that, on a single family home, when that person is out, no one is paying the
Yeah.
rent,
Right.
right?
Right.
But when you have a triplex or a quadruplex or a duplex, there's usually one that is still paying either part of the rent or 100% of the mortgage. I mean, so that's why diversity into that also helps. It will kind of help you just going through the tenant situations.
So when you say you're going above the 1%, you're saying that you want to have the ability that even if the property costs $100,000, you want to be able to receive 1,200, 1,400, fifteen
Exactly.
hundred in rent.
Yeah. And that's usually those ballpark that we're aiming at and we're actually having. Um, and that's what I was saying. The quality of your tenant is important so that you actually locate the property in a neighborhood that is going to attract those people, right? So we like the neighborhoods where we know that we're going to have professionals and near universities, where you're going to have people
Yeah.
that are stable, that have good jobs. And like right now, COVID, uh, or pandemic, how do you call it?
What is
Resilient
it,
jobs.
recession proof or like
Yeah, recession-proof jobs,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah, and we also have Section 8 tenants in some of our rentals, just because they are stable. So it's always like you're trying to diversify your the quality of tenants so that you always you know it mitigate the risk. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
It does. And so once you locate the neighborhood, you know the quality of tenant that you're going to have, then you renovate for that quality as well. So if you are in a pricier neighborhood, like in our case, Bolton Hill, Baltimore, this is more like your upper class. So you will have luxury things in those apartments compared to other neighborhoods. So just make sure that you do have that, because then you're going to rent at a higher price as well.
And you know what I think is interesting about what you said, that is generally, the fear, I guess, or the concern when you are going into renovate, like separating yourself from the property, like, oh, this would look nice and that would look nice, but it doesn't really fit with your bottom line. And especially if you're having to factor all of these things in before you even do the deal. So like you said, like you're reverse engineering.
Yes.
So I need to have my scope of work ready to know, okay, that this is what I'm planning to do in every room, and this is my budget to the most that I can control it. Anything over would still not kill the deal, but it would hurt what I'm refinancing. It would hurt the potential profit that I'm taking out of the property. But it's so tempting to put all those like
Very.
sizzle features, as they
It
call
is. It is. So 2021 was actually a very good market for the real estate, right? Because all of the market value were going
it.
higher.
Right.
So whoever had bought like their property at the beginning of the year, by the time that they will refinance, their market value is actually higher. So this is how you get to either keep the money as a equity, like because the bank refinances you at 75%. So the extra, you can leave it into the property or you can cash it out. And so when you're able to do that, that's really where I actually feel that that's very good. And this is really where the bear method pays itself when
And
I'm
you know,
able to cash out.
so when you speak about, and I know I have, because this stuff is fascinating to me. So like when you're cashing out, do you have the option to do like a line of credit or a loan, right? Or is it just
It's cash, cash. Cash, cash, Lorraine. They
Yeah.
wire that money into the
Yeah.
account. It's like sweet cash. We love that cash.
So, so my question for you is, and I'm sure other people want to know, like when you go into this, are you using a hard money lender, a private money lender? Like, how's the financing up front for something like this?
We've been doing a combination of both. So just like a flip. So that's why I was saying it's really just
Hmm.
like flip and then turning it into a rental. So we will go the hard money lender route and have a private money lender to fill in for our repairs or the gap. So it's still the same thing. And then when you refinance, you repay everyone.
Right.
Mhm, mhm.
I mean, it sounds like an awesome, method. I mean, I my Gene and I we recently we're under contract on our first 3 unit here in Chicago. So I'm
Woohoo!
excited to go through the process, and I'll definitely keep you guys updated on how things go, with it, since it's the first one we're doing here in Chicago. So
That's exciting. So
yeah.
I have a quick question, because I know you're going to be going through the process, but what made you realize that this particular property would be good for BRRRR?
Because of the rents in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So the price point at which we're purchasing, and once we put the work into it, what the after repair value of the building will be, what the building will be worth afterwards, and what it can rent for, each
Nice.
unit, what each unit can rent for.
And that's exactly that. I mean, we refinanced in December one of our big project. That was our first quadruplex that we flipped it the whole building, and it was a 100-year-old building. So very like old construction where you actually have to change everything, all the plumbing, electrical. Plus, it was a historical, so there's several layers of how you
Hmm.
do things, and inspections and all. So we bought it at like 300K, and when we refinanced, it was appraised at 820K.
Wow.
Wow, that's huge.
That's
Whoa. That's a
Yes,
whole nother property. That's awesome.
yes. And so that's the kind of like good birds that you want
Hmm.
to have. And it's really just locating the ugliest house in that neighborhood that, like, really no one wants to tackle that project. And we ourselves were super discouraged at several points. We were like, we should have just sold this thing. Like, we can't, it's just too
I seem
long.
to be. I'm like a magnet to those types of properties. Don't ask me why. I try to stay away, but they keep drawing me in.
Yes, opportunity is drawing you in. Yes, yes, embrace it. Embrace it. That's I mean,
Yes. And
820
so
for 300. That's awesome.
if you're but yeah, you still have to account into that all the repairs. So
Yeah.
those repairs are really really extensive repairs.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So but as long as you're good on your numbers and you know how much things are going to cost, mind you, right now materials are more
Yes.
expensive. There's variable prices waiting on like inspection or your appliances and all of that. But if you do account all and everything, and that you have a reasonable timeline those type of projects, like especially you, Kim, like a triplex, it's way longer than just a regular single family
Oh
home.
yeah.
Yeah. And so you will calculate, for the maximum of like a year to get through
Hmm.
it. You're probably going to finish earlier, which is like super. But having like that safe zone of getting to the year mark and having all of your number working for a year, then it's like you have like calculated risk into that.
Yeah. Yeah, we've already reached out to our lender, and we spoke about the 12-month
Yes.
term for the loan to get everything done within that year. So
Yeah.
having a longer term does help
It does. And
when
so,
you're renovating, because it's
any,
3 separate units you're renovating.
it
So it's
is.
not, yeah.
People don't think, but it's like three kitchens, right?
Hmm.
It's like three kitchens, at least three bathrooms, or sometimes more, and number of windows. Like, the numbers get quickly high up there. And when you're doing like those mini buildings, you need it. So it's a different electrical system, different permitting system. All of that has to be taken into account. So there's
So
like a,
what's helpful is that, I mean, we are going into the warmer months, so I know that that can also
it will
affect
help. Yeah.
times of repairs, because better weather, and I'll do air quotes when I say better weather, that will hopefully to to help to speed along the process. But then there, like you both are saying, that there are things that are just out of your control, whether it's
Yes.
material costs,
Hmm.
material delays, permits, appraisals, all of these things, all of these different moving parts.
So are you guys looking to acquire any more properties there in the Baltimore market?
Yes, we are, just because we're active into the Baltimore market. So
Hmm.
we are also wholesaling, those single family homes and all. And yes, we do love those projects that are, a little bit longer, but at the end, being able to do the BRRRR, it's super rewarding.
So I guess it's safe to say that the BRRRR method. I mean, I've heard some people say that the BRRRR method is, it's not great because at the end, when it's time to refinance, a lot of the institutions don't want to give you the maximum, amount of money. They always start off saying one thing and then it changes, but it seems to be a proven strategy. I mean, it's working for you guys. So I don't I mean, I think it's a great strategy to get into if you want to do the passive side, and if you want to dabble a little bit into the active, but you
Hmm.
don't really want to stay in the active too long, you just get
Yes.
in and out and get into the passive. This is a great strategy.
It is. And also, people should know that there are several lenders that are able to refinance your property. So if it doesn't work with the bank, which usually won't when you are a brand new investor, and also because your property hasn't been stabilized for a long time, like, the banks like it when it's been rented for a
The
long
seasoning
period of
period.
time. Yes, there's a seasoning into that, which is just normal. So there's hard money lenders also that do those longer term loan. They actually do it like on 30 years,
Yeah.
and they were very competitive with their rates
Right.
compared.
Especially, I think within the last 2 years, the rates have been really competitive with
Yes.
bank rates because the interest rates were so low. So it's interesting. It will be interesting to see where things go in the next few months or even next year
Mhm.
with the rates going up just a bit.
Yeah.
Yes. And so all of that, it's a little bit more complicated, but once you understand the process of it, it's not, you know, it becomes a little bit more regular.
Well, keep your phone handy because if I run into any issue, I'm like, Mickey, I'm having a problem.
But I think just
And you
even
are,
being,
and you are gonna have problems. That's actually the lesson that I've learned this year in real estate. It's like I am always gonna have problem in the real
Mhm.
estate because each project is different, and we are all humans on this project.
Yeah.
So things will just happen, and then you get to be more resourceful as you're becoming more of a seasoning investor and entrepreneur. So it's just yeah, it amazes me how much you're more prepared, right?
Yeah. Now, I guess one other question for you is, did you read any books at all that prepared you for doing the BRRRR method, or was it just like trial
We
and error, learn by experience?
So we did attend those boot camps and those conferences on
Mm-hmm.
BRRRR. And
Okay.
when I attended it, I just went because I'm someone that likes to learn, not because I thought that I could actually do that. Until I got into my first, I was like, hey, we can actually refinance it. I was like, oh, the number works. Yeah.
And
Those
refinance,
sexy
I
numbers work.
surprised.
with the refinance, you're creating your own OPM. You're creating
Yes.
your own bank, I guess, if you
Yes.
will,
And
your own financing
mhm.
machine. So I think it's when we talk about, like, some of the things that might hold some people back from moving forward or from being able to grow their business, doing things like BRRRR, where if you put all of your efforts into the active side of actually finding an asset that you can purchase at a value that would provide you with the spreads that you ladies are talking about, then you can literally repeat and keep using and recycling that refinance money or that equity within one property to go and buy a bunch more. Not to say that you should over leverage. We're not saying just keep
Yeah.
buying properties, refinance, and go buy another one. Like, make sure you have everything in place. But I think it sounds like it would be a great option to be able to scale and not have to use your own money.
Yes. Yes. And it's actually very, like, you're getting those rental very quickly. I think that it's a very fast way of acquiring rentals when you don't have all this cash
Mm.
to go and buy them yourself.
Yeah.
So do you guys have like a set of doors in mind? Like where do you
Well,
think you
As of
where,
right now, we have 14, and by the end of the summer, we'll have 18. So we're
nice.
hoping to finish the year around, like, maybe 26 or so.
awesome.
Very
Little
nice.
by little, yeah.
We're looking to have 10 doors by the end of the year. Well,
Yay!
yeah, I mean, we got to start out small.
10 doors is not that
Ten
small though. 10 doors
ten
is
door is not small, but it comes
yeah.
fast. Like, once you get into that the game, it goes fast.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're continuing to buy the multi units, those 10
Yeah.
doors will be here
In,
probably
yeah.
in no time.
In no time.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
this
Well,
was great.
Congratulations.
yeah, that's
Congratulations,
awesome.
Onyx
Thanks, and same to
Homes.
you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, ladies, this was a great conversation. I learned a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, I'll keep everyone posted on my journey into the using the BRRRR method.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one.
It will be. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, even though I do the paper, I definitely want to explore the rental area, because I forget, I think we mentioned it briefly earlier. It is about diversification, not
Mhm.
only in just the areas, but in your portfolio.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, this
Right.
was great. And
Yes.
I mean, we do this podcast where we talk all things women in real estate, and so we're here every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
So until next Thursday, know your why.
Know your heart.
And know your purpose. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Bye. And get your
Bye.
BRRRR on.
Get your